Welcome to LAANC, an introduction to the low-altitude authorization and notification capability. Flights in controlled airspace at certain times of day or near sensitive locations require authorization from the FAA. Authorization requests can be subject to long waiting periods of up to 90 days and labor-intensive manual approvals, which can delay or even prevent commercial operations from even getting off the ground. Whether you're a real estate photographer or a first responder or even flying for fun and recreation, waiting several days for approval is just not practical. But on the FAA side, neither is manually managing thousands of individual requests for ATC approval. And that is why low-altitude authorization and notification capability was created. The objective of this training course is to familiarize the student with the new low-altitude authorization and notification capability system now being implemented by the FAA to facilitate more rapid approval for UAS flight operations in restricted areas. We will present an overview of the development and purpose of the new Unmanned Traffic Management System, the UTM, and how it is implemented using various mobile applications. This presentation is partly sponsored by AirMap.
My name is Steve Runge with the Houston Airport System. I'm the Division Manager of Safety and Emergency Management. Unmanned aircraft, they've really been flying for decades. We've known them as model aircraft. Recently, new technology has come about to really make them much smaller and available to anyone, but people refer to them commonly as drones. The latest numbers I saw were about 750,000 drones under Christmas trees this past year. The primary concern about drones flying around airports is obviously collision. How do we allow those drones to operate in unison with the rest of the aircraft? Airports have identified unsafe areas on AirMap for the FAA. Section 336 of the FAA Modernization and Reform Act requires drone operators to notify airports to make sure that they can operate safely in the airspace. But there's really no timeline requirement, so they could say, I'm getting ready to fly a drone right now. And by the time that gets to the right people, maybe too late. So if somebody says that they're flying in a specific area that's unsafe, it automatically will trigger DNAS, the Digital Notification and Awareness System. And that allows drone operators to notify that airport. DNAS technology allows the airport operator and the drone operator to automate the notification process. I'm certainly no expert at drones, but I know DNAS technology solved many of the problems that we were having in Houston, kind of getting our arms around the drone notification issue. With UAS regulations changing as rapidly as they are, airports need a solution to help us include drones into the National Airspace System. DNAS provides a technological solution that never really existed in the past, as the whole industry really evolves into the future.
One way to gain access to a restricted area is to apply for a blanket waiver, which can take several weeks and is issued for a period of up to 6 months for a specific area or a specific type of operation. For many drone applications like real estate, aerial photography, recreational flying, or even search and rescue, that's just not practical. Clearly, there needed to be a better solution. And that was the motivation for the development and implementation of the Low-Altitude Authorization and Notification Capability, or LAANC. There are now 2 ways to apply for an airspace authorization, using the current process or applying through an FAA-approved UAS service supplier. The good news is that neither process requires the operator to contact an air traffic control tower. With LAANC, almost instant airspace authorization is available through various mobile apps and online. The FAA, in partnership with NASA, is developing the Unmanned Traffic Management System. The UTM will support air traffic control authorization requirements for UAS operations conducted under the Special Rule for Model Aircraft, Part 101E, and the Small UAS Rule, Part 107. Part 101, in case you're wondering, includes moored balloons, kites, amateur rockets, unmanned free balloons, and certain model aircraft. Part 349 is a new part for recreational drones. LAANC is an industry-developed application through which you may apply for an airspace authorization for your intended flight plans. LAANC offers Part 107, 101, and now Part 349 operators a streamlined solution to enable real-time automated notification and authorization. That will reduce the time from a maximum of 90 days down to almost instant approval. Department of Defense facilities and Joint Use Civilian DoD facilities are not participating in LAANC. Any Part 107 operator wanting to fly in non-LAANC enabled airspace must still apply for an airspace authorization through the Drone Zone website. At present, operators flying under the limited exception may not fly in non-LAANC enabled airspace. Section 349 of Public Law is the limited statutory exception for recreation. Ideally, the FAA would like for all airports to be LAANC enabled, but the fact is, national security concerns override the convenience of UAS operators. However, public and commercial operators can request permission to operate near military airports through the FAA Drone Zone website. Airspace data is provided through the UAS facility maps. The maps show the maximum altitude around airports where the FAA can authorize operations, under the small UAS rule. The UAS industry provides these operators with the ability to interact with the maps and provide automatic notification and authorization requests to the FAA. The full system became active for drone operators in February of 2018. And from here on, depending on where you are, you could have the option of using the online LAANC system. The system will allow those drone operators to apply for instant digital approval to fly in U.S.-controlled airspace using the same applications they use for flight planning and in-flight situational awareness. Applications like Before You Fly, AirMap, Kitty Hawk, Skyward, and others. Some are free, others are part of a paid package integrating other services. Implementation began with 50 airports in the fall of 2017, and it expanded from there. Cincinnati Northern Kentucky International, Miami International, Phoenix Sky Harbor International, these are just a few of the first airports to offer automated authorization in controlled airspace, with the rest of the nation's airports to follow. Class B airports are the busiest. Notably, there are 14 Class B airports participating in the LAANC system. In all, 400-plus airports are scheduled to participate in the system, including Class B, C, D, and E airports. The Low-Altitude Authorization Capability, LAANC, will streamline the process for on-the-spot authorizations for UAS operations in many Class B, C, D, and E airports using LAANC mobile and desktop apps. As we said, the system uses the UAS facility grid map depicting specific areas and altitudes where drone operators can request airspace authorization more effectively and efficiently. LAANC can enable drone operators to access some airspace that previously required a waiver, and it will automate the waiver application process, significantly reducing the wait time for approvals. It will also give recreational drone pilots a way to notify air traffic control when they plan to fly within 5 miles of an airport. So, for example, a utility company may now be able to use drones to inspect wind turbines located close to an airport. The FAA provides UAS facility map data for airports. That data will include a grid reference system for controlled airspace. The FAA provides UAS facility map data for airports. That data includes a grid reference system for controlled airspace. The grid map system indicates where a UAV may be automatically authorized to fly based on specific altitude limits within the grid elements. The system can, for example, facilitate rapid deployment of first responders, law enforcement, and emergency operations, as well as commercial and hobby operators, inside restricted airspace classes, and provide deconfliction with other aircraft. Let's see how it works at the airmap.io website. And here's how the LAANC system works using the AirMap mobile app. Other apps work essentially the same way. First, we tap and hold on the location on the map to create a flight and receive traffic alerts. There is a selection for map or satellite view. First, you will need to define the flight location as a radius point, a path, or an area of flight with the maximum altitude, start time, and flight duration, and also select the aircraft you registered in the app previously. The system notifies the operator of any restricted areas and the current weather conditions. After a short time, an approval or disapproval will appear on the screen. It's best to screen capture a picture of that approval message. At the conclusion of the flight, you would close the flight plan, just like a real pilot. AirMap includes a dataset to include first responder activity to enhance situational awareness for drone pilots. This addition to AirMap's real-time airspace intelligence enhances the situational awareness for drone operators so they can make the skies safer for all, including first responders, and the people and the communities that they serve. When this map layer is selected on AirMap's apps for iOS, Android, and the web online, drone operators can see first responder activity from computer-aided dispatch centers in more than 2,100 U.S. communities. This activity is indicated as an orange circle on the map view on the web app and as an advisory on the AirMap mobile apps. For the privacy and safety of first responders and others involved in these emergencies, the exact location or type of first responder activity does not appear on the map. Each area is 600 feet across unless a larger region is affected. While AirMap ingests data about fires, electrical and gas hazards, medical emergencies, tornadoes, tsunamis, rescue operations, and more, these specific categories are not disclosed to users. The state of Kansas is already ahead of the game.
Drones are rapidly becoming an essential part of our economy. Businesses of every size are starting to benefit from drones. We're proud to say that AirMap's technology has been really an essential ingredient in the growth of the drone industry.
The state of Kansas does aviation every day. We take our airspace very seriously here. We have 138 airports. That's a lot of people to keep safe at the same time. AirMap technology puts data in the hands of drone operators to see the airspace they're operating in and communicate with air traffic controllers to keep airspace safe.
Our statewide partnership with Kansas is an important milestone on the way towards a thriving drone ecosystem. Kansas is building essential infrastructure for drones. It's an economic development opportunity that says to the world, Kansas is open for business.
We have the skilled workforce that will allow for us to drive this in the state's economy and allow for us to be national leaders. And our partnership with AirMap is not only going to allow us to do it safer, but it'll allow for us to do it smarter.
I'm Matthew Peterson, Flight Operations Manager at Progress Rail. To be able to put up a drone for commercial operation, aside from your routine challenges like whether you have privacy concerns, conflicting airspace, dealing with outside entities, having access to airspace information in real time ensures that my flight operation is safe and stays safe.
We have an ability right now to lead this country in aviation in a way that's true to our legacy.
This is the technology that's going to allow the drone industry to scale globally. Kansas has realized something that we think every other state is going to realize.
We think aviation is a powerful thing worth protecting, and we think AirMap is a good partner to protect the airspace and the people who participate in it.
Of course, AirMap is not the only company involved in the new system. Along with other companies and partners, Skyward is also helping to develop this capability. Aerodyne, Airbus, Airzos, Altitude Angel, Converge, DJI, Kitty Hawk, UAS Sidekick, and Unifly join the original companies AirMap, Harris Corporation, Project Wing, Skyward, and Thales Group. LAANC is not a final solution, but one step along the way toward UAS integration into the national airspace. The LAANC system is considered a precursor to the Comprehensive Unmanned Aerial Traffic Management System a NASA-led team is developing for transfer to the FAA. The FAA is also assembling an Aviation Rulemaking Committee, or ARC, of industry and government experts to recommend standards for identifying and tracking drones remotely or from a distance, or remote ID, which is one of the law enforcement community's top concerns. As of mid-2019, U.S. registered drones now number almost 1.5 million, with 878,000 that are operated by hobbyists and 390,000 for commercial and government use. The number of certified UAS operators has more than tripled since 2017. For airspace not covered by LAANC, pilots will still need to submit for a waiver. But the FAA expects that LAANC will eliminate most of the airspace waivers they currently have to deal with, and the process should go much faster because the queue will be so much shorter. That's our presentation on the low-altitude authorization and notification capability. Resources for this course can be found at thedroneprofessor.com/classes. So now you have an idea of what LAANC is all about. Our thanks to AirMap for assistance with this presentation. I'm Tim Trott, and thanks for viewing, and please visit thedroneprofessor.com.